Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Crash. You son
Oh, God. Hold on. Pause.
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
They were targeting Wall Street when they should have been targeting Capitol Hill. They should have been targeting DC. This is the same thing, and this is what people keep missing.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
You bought GameStop at 400, didn't you? To the moon, baby. To the moon.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That is Fat Man Zoom. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and we made it our mission to help you guys own it. And Fat Man Zoom, why don't we hit everybody off with the start of 5?
Starting 5, we have Sean Ethier, 76, Brian Bennell, Karan Kaur, and Matt Johnson. You are starting 5. Everybody, welcome to Own the Chaos. Another day. I know you guys are talking about the blood red in the market, but we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about a couple of topics. Obviously, what's going on with the Fed. If you guys haven't been here before, we are live every Monday through Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time to talk about exactly that, what is going on in the market, any particular topics, and take any of your questions. I meant to ask you, do we have Chaos Confessions today?
We do.
Do you have one?
I do.
Okay. So we will get into Chaos Confessions. But guys, if you like the content, do us a solid and hit that thumbs up. We appreciate you guys showing up. How to go in the market today for you?
It's not a great day, but I would say that it was a day of opportunity for me in particular. I ended up taking some profits on Ford on Friday, and then I doubled down and bought more today.
That's good.
And actually is working out pretty good.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because we always talk about red days are the days that you're looking for opportunity.
Right.
And then green days, you know, those are the times when people generally like innately buy things, especially people that are newer to the market.
Right.
They're like, oh, it's a green day, something's going up. Like, I want to jump in on it.
To chase it.
But then in the red day, you could say you want to buy things, but a day like today where everything seems red, it's not easy to actually pull the trigger on things.
Yeah, and I mean, I even put this out on Twitter. Feel free to go follow me at Own the Chaos. I put this out. I was like, ended up buying back into Ford. I still had a position in Ford, so let me let you know how this played out. So I bought it, and this kind of goes into my Chaos confession. So I bought a bunch of Ford on Thursday. It went crazy. Didn't expect that kind of move. So I took the gift that was given to me, took some profits out of there. So I sold a third of that position. Well, I reinstated that third today.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a different story because I ended up getting a particular set of calls that expired in February on my initial position that I bought on Thursdays, but then I bought January calls today just because they're a little bit cheaper. And given the way that the market had come down, or at least the stock had come down, I thought it was a good opportunity to just take something a little bit more riskier, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, Ford, Ford's one of those things. Ford's an interesting situation because it's almost like the perfect scenario. And if you pull up the chart, you can show it. It's almost like the best case scenario. You get into something, it makes a move, and you even said it like you weren't expecting the move to happen that day, right? You get the move. And you get a red day, you sell out, or at least trim, you get a red day that gives some of that back. It's almost like the perfect scenario because you have that run up and it's sort of giving those profit bats back. Not that it's guaranteed to make that run up again,
right? But
technically it looks really good. So a red day after a run up can present that opportunity, which is what I guess you're looking for.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. So, I mean, we saw this breakout last week, this bull flag pattern. It was pretty obvious what was, going on here. And I didn't know what the catalyst was going to be for this breakout to take place. And there's a couple of things that ended up happening. And this ended up on the watch list again for our Chaos crew. So make sure you go and check that out down in the description below at ownthechaos.com. But I ended up putting this on the watch list again today, just to remind everybody that things don't go up in a straight line every single day. And then we could see some consolidating here. And that's exactly what we saw. The stock's back down around 4%. It gave back about 50% of its gains from Friday, which makes all the sense in the world. And it actually is holding up quite well. And so that's what I ended up eyeing up. If we go back to the 5-minute chart, I actually ended up getting these calls right here around the $20.32 area, and they're already making me money again. So is this a guarantee? Is this going to continue to go up from here? I think that remains to be seen. But given the 50% retracement, it just made sense to make the entry there.
Yeah. I think it's a good move. I personally, am looking to get in now because I told you I really wanted to get in the same day you got in.
Yeah.
I didn't. And then, it ran. Well, this is a great opportunity for me to get a second chance at it.
Right.
I have not gotten in. I actually didn't make any moves only because factors outside of my control. So we're launching this we're launching this options bot.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about using the current account to use it for capital. So I'm kind of in a pause mode right now, just because I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to move this? This is how it works. My checking goes to savings, and it takes a couple of days for the savings to transfer to checking. So this is how it works. For you Kevin Hart fans. See, what happened was, but I didn't sell anything. However, Sam Adams, man,
yeah,
the play that
the bounce finally took place.
I've been waiting for, yeah, and I am officially green. I'm in leaps on Sam.
Yeah,
so I'm really happy so far with how it's looking, and maybe sign of things to come. Is a reversal official?
I think there's definitely a case that could be made that the reversal is taking place here. I mean, look at how this is down. I mean, obviously, we saw this come down from 1350 all the way down to 435. That's a correction of around over 60%. And so we see that after the gap down from their earnings 2 earnings ago, and then their latest earnings weren't received well either, that this has just been downtrending over the last, 120 days or so. Yeah. And so I think that there's definitely a case that can be made here. The reason why I'm saying this is that I actually drew this trend line downwards for our Chaos Crew folks that tune into us in the mornings, and mentioned that we're starting to see a break from the downward trend that we saw from back here on the earnings that were reported back in July. So not only that, but we saw this close over the 50-day moving average last week. And so I think that there's a lot of momentum that's starting to build for Sam. It's up 4.5% today on a day where the rest of the market's red. So yeah. I think that's very telling. And you have leaps in this, right? You have leap options.
Yeah, I have leaps. Yeah. And so I'm excited. I mean, I've been telling you, like, I will breathe a sigh of relief when it gets above that 545, really 550. Then I'll be like, okay, let's move.
Yeah.
But the comeback's been good. It's had a few strong trading sessions in a row. And as you pointed out, the fact that it's been a tough day overall, yet Sam's still performing. I'm excited to see what happens if the market ends up being green the next couple of days. So yeah, certainly one to keep an eye on. Jeff Panika says, love Sam. Shout out to Rodolfo from Florianopolis, which is where I was in Brazil last week.
Yeah.
Shout out, my man. Where in Florianopolis are you? I was in Jure, and I was also in Barrio de Lagoa, I think is how you pronounce it, Logo or something, which is just above Campeche. But Florianopolis, guys, if you haven't been to Brazil, go to Florianopolis. But shout out, and also shout out to Daniel Camarena from the FedEx warehouse. We're ready for the info. Whatever info you got, hit us with it. Obviously, FedEx has earnings this week.
Toss it to us, my man.
Yeah. So yeah, those are a couple we're keeping an eye on, guys. Before we get into the chaos confessions, we're going to talk a little bit about the Fed, but start throwing in your chaos confessions now. That way, when we bring up the topic, we can get your chaos confessions, and we'll tell you more about it if you're not familiar with it. But I just wanted to talk about the market and what happened, and sort of what your expectations are. What happened today?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it. I think there's a couple of reasons at play. One of them is that there's obviously a lot of nervousness surrounding around the Fed. Fed meeting is on Wednesday. They're going to talk about inflation. Are they going to be moving up the timeline for interest rates? I think undoubtedly what may happen is that we're going to see the decrease in purchases of bonds from the Fed probably happen double what they were expecting. So I think that we could see end of the tapering probably by, I would say, February, maybe March. That's kind of my expectation. Yeah. I think the market's actually expecting this too, which is interesting because they're climbing this wall of worry. Everybody's worried about what the Fed's going to say. And it seems as if people are expecting the worst from the Fed. Mm-hmm. So if we see, an increase in tapering, and maybe this increases by double, and then we also see him talking about potential interest rates hikes going up maybe in May or June, I don't know if the market's actually going to be surprised, because I think everybody's expecting it. And it's honestly exactly what the Fed probably would have wanted to have happen, because back in 2018, everybody was kind of like thrown for a loop with the rate hikes. And, I think that's what he's trying to avoid. And he's been very, very transparent. I think I've been a fan of Jay Powell up to this point. It's been a very difficult situation that he's been thrown into with the pandemic and stuff. A lot of people want to give him some grief, but I actually think that he's done a really good job, all things considered. Yes, we're experiencing some inflation, and yes, it is a challenge, but I don't think that it all rests on him. And we've talked about, how the government is continuing to push through these $1 trillion bills, and maybe the economy doesn't actually need it at this point, given how much liquidity there is in the market. So there's that. But I also think that there's just a potential correction, not really correction, but just a little bit of a sell-off, some profit taking from last week's action. I mean, we saw huge moves in the market from the bounce that we saw from the week prior. So I think that that's more likely what it is, rather than people reacting to the Fed.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now you're saying that they're going to decrease. You were talking about the buybacks, right?
Yeah. Taper.
Yeah. And I think what you were looking for is by half, more than half.
Yes. They're going to increase the taper. Well, yeah, they're going to increase the taper by double.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or decrease by more than half.
Yes. However you want to phrase it.
Trying to help you out. This is what you stumbled on. So
yeah, I know. However, yeah. I don't know why sometimes I get like that. I lose my train of thought, and then it's just like flatline.
So you mentioned, well, so we got a couple more days. Like, what do you expect the next couple of days? Because don't they meet tomorrow and then Wednesday?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So I think that today, tomorrow, maybe even partially on Wednesday, we could see just like this same type of action. Maybe not so aggressive as far as the selling is concerned, but maybe just kind of like a chilling out, so to speak, just some consolidating until we actually get word from them. And then maybe Wednesday, I think it's somewhere around 2 p.m. that we'll hear from the Fed. We should start to see some movement. But we've talked about this, like, since Black Friday, we mentioned that even though we could see markets move up, there might be some volatility, and there was a lot of things at play here. One of them was the debt ceiling issue, which has been taken care of. Mm-hmm. And the other one was this issue with the Fed. So if we can get through this, I don't see a reason why we can't rally into the end of the year at that point, because barring some crazy shit happens, then we should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll certainly keep an eye on that. I want to talk about a couple of stocks. Daniel Camarena has given us the information regarding FedEx. He says,
if you guys don't know Daniel Camarena, he is a daily viewer, and he works at FedEx in California.
He said that peak season got off busy, but it is slowing down. Not as busy as last year. Management had prepared for it to be like last year, and it is not. Not seeing below average numbers, but it's not the same volume as last year.
Interesting.
They have hired a lot of extra drivers that they may look to get rid of sooner than expected. Daniel, thanks for the information. You may be getting fired. Just kidding. Just kidding. They're not checking our channel.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I've actually been a fan of FedEx, so I'd be curious to see how that shows up on their earnings and what if they actually speak to that, Daniel, because their earnings are on Thursday after hours. And if that ends up being the case, it could get ugly for FedEx, because last time they had earnings, that was kind of like a similar reaction, where it kind of tanked, where the growth wasn't exactly what that was expected. So, man, that would be tough if that actually ends up coming to light here on their earnings on Thursday.
I want to take a couple of questions in the chat. If you guys want to check out or if you want to throw in a couple of stocks that you may be looking at, get Brad's thought on them. Feel free to throw them in. Mr. DeSoto says, go Nuvei. Nuvei is up almost 8%. What are your thoughts on Nuvei, which we brought up, smaller company in the EV sector?
Yeah, so Nuvei, I think, is interesting because
EV charging, sorry.
Yeah, this is one of the types of companies or stocks that I actually would probably avoid unless you're just willing to take on some speculation if you have room in your portfolio for that, only because they're operating at a pretty decent loss at this point. The growth is certainly there, which helps the stock out for sure. But if we do see any kind of rate hike talk on Wednesday, that might not go so well for a stock like Nuvei. Now, all things considered, I still think that it's worth holding on to speculative stocks that even are operating for a loss. One thing that Nuvei has going for it is that it's not really that high price. At last I checked, what's the market cap on this? Yeah, 287 million. So it's not overvalued, right? So that's not some crazy multiple that I think that I would be too concerned about. It's obviously got a lot of competition with ChargePoint and Blink and the others, but there's certainly some potential here, and the market's huge. I don't know what the TAM is on this, but it's in a space where there's tons of growth potential regardless.
Mavis. Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh, got him. Mavis Beacon says Spotify is looking to reverse here. What are your thoughts on Spotify?
Spotify is an interesting one because they are still operating for a loss, aren't they?
You know what? I don't know.
Maybe their last earnings they came in profitable. 2.9 billion was their last revenue that was reported. I don't know what that means for them as far as them coming in positive. You can see the stock's down 3.5%. I do like Spotify. If I'm going to be holding something in this environment, and you want to take something that's a little bit more speculative, I actually do like Spotify. There's the podcast industry, as crazy as it sounds, Fat Man Zoom, and we've talked about this a little bit just in our own business. The podcast industry is still very much in the early innings, and Spotify is dumping money into that industry. And so I think that they're going to come out on top for this because of that. I don't know short term, if you're looking for the short term move, I don't know if it's it for Spotify, but I think you could certainly accumulate a position here. And I think that you're going to be handsomely rewarded, especially if you have a longer term approach to Spotify.
Yeah, I agree about the podcast sentiment. I think that what they have working in their favor is just lack of institutional trust. And so people don't necessarily are losing trust in traditional news outlets and really putting it into these influencers, and podcasts make a lot of sense. So you think as time goes on, there's going to be standouts as far as not just podcasts for entertainment, but podcasts for information and education. And so I think people are going to look towards these influencers and these podcasters for their sentiment because honestly, they probably trust them more than they trust traditional news outlets. And I think the best example of that is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Yeah. 100% Joe Rogan. But then you have Caller Daddy as well, who's, a huge influencer that they jumped up. What was it? 50 million, $60 million that they put into Caller Daddy. So I think that this is just starting for podcasts. As crazy it sounds like, people have been doing podcasts forever, but for it to really fall into mainstream, I think we're still very much in the early innings in this. And it's actually pretty evident with YouTube as well. YouTube is starting to get themselves in the podcast game. And I don't know to what extent they're going to take that, but they are, for us creators, giving us tools to turn our platform into a podcasting platform, which is kind of cool.
Next one, PayPal, one you've really liked.
Yes.
How's that looking? How'd that work out today?
This was on the watch list. By the way, if you guys want to get the watch list for free, you can go to ownthechaos.com. We give it out to our Chaos crew members. If you guys want to go check that out, the link is in the description. Again, that's ownthechaos.com. We put out 5 stocks in the morning before the market opens on ones we think are worth taking a look at and maybe potentially taking advantage of either the move down or seeing the potential and making a decision for yourself. But again, if you guys want to go check that out, help support the channel, go to ownthechaos.com. If we look at this 180 mark, Fat Man Zoom, I talked about this after their earnings weren't great, and it was already on a downward trajectory because of the drama that took place with Pinterest. This is a stock to watch for the month of December. I love PayPal here, and I think the bottom seems to have clearly been in at 180. So it's at 187 right now. It's just slightly in the red, not necessarily moving down as much as everything else is. So I'm actually encouraged by this. And I think PayPal is for sure a buy. I mean, the move down, we're down, 30+% from its highs. Just doesn't make any sense for it to be all the way down here.
One that we're big fans of is Asana, PW Coach.
Yes. Here's another one that it will be sensitive to rate hikes, though. The growth here is ridiculous. I mean, they've been crushing their earnings expectations, to be fair. I'm going to remove this just because we don't need to see it at this point. But I think given the move down, I was hopeful when this held over the 200-day moving average, but I'm not exactly one that to go and grab this at this point. I don't think technically we're at any support where I'd say, yes, this is the spot. I'm looking at maybe somewhere around 61, sitting at 64 right now. So I would say that 61 probably would be the next spot that I'd watch to see if it tests and holds here. But there's no real confirmation of a bounce. There's no real confirmation of a bounce. So I don't know if I would be too eager to grab this just yet.
This one's pretty interesting. Matterport MTTR.
Yeah.
N40.
So Matterport, if you guys don't know, this is actually, we put out a video, 3 weeks ago, somewhere around there, revolving around the top 5 stocks that we would buy related to the metaverse. And Matterport was on here, and it's actually a little bit of a sleeper. I really like the stock. If we're moving towards the metaverse, Matterport's going to be a huge part of that. So I think that this is definitely one looking to look for, to put in your bag of tricks if you're looking for some long-term potential related around the metaverse. But technically speaking, it's sitting at the 50-day. If it can't hold this 50-day, which is right around $23, then it could start to get a little bit ugly. So just be careful with it. This will be a long-term play for me. I don't know if you're going to see a whole lot for it in the short term.
Yeah. And speaking of the metaverse, Meta Platforms, ticker symbol FB, Trishan mentioned that it was nice and green today.
Yeah, it's up 2%. Actually had a really nice bounce. It came down as low as $299. So it held that $300 area pretty good. It's now crossed over the 50 and 200 day where they intersect here around 330. So I would say that the momentum is on the side of Meta Platforms at this point. And FANGs in general. We've been talking about the tapering and interest rates and the crazy speculative stocks aren't going to be the ones that own. Quality stocks are going to be the ones that own, especially in tech. And so I think FANG is going to actually move. And obviously this is part of that.
Well, speaking of FANG, Rodolfo asked, do you guys expect Amazon to make a move like Apple soon? That's a
man. I don't know why it's not up. I really don't. So your guess is as good as mine. One thing I will say is the chart here, and I see that Don Fran's in the house, and maybe he can give some thoughts on this as well. But I see the trend here from March, and it still looks like we're on a pretty decent trend. As choppy as it's been, I gotta say, man, I think that the lowest I could see this coming down is the 200-day before we see a bounce. So I would be surprised if we don't see some sort of rip going into the end of the year. But next year, I would imagine is probably going to be a really good year for Amazon because they're going to compare it to this year versus 2020 where they did so well.
Yeah. I think going back to Apple's made a monster move and has really been on a tear. When Amazon does finally break out, potentially it's at 400, do you think Amazon could make that move?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
What needs to happen? Just the comps need to be more reasonable?
I think so, because right now they're comparing it to 2020 and the growth that it had in 2020. And I think that we obviously won't see that until the first year. I would be very excited to look forward to Amazon's earnings in January for the fourth quarter, because I think that once we finally compare it to, some real numbers that we saw in 21, that's where I think this actually starts to make real moves. But that being said, I think that this could participate in the year-end rally that I think we could be seeing.
Another favorite stock, Tesla. Everybody loves Tesla. A great question. I love these questions. PW coaching is the last one I'm doing of yours. I've done too many PW coaching questions. How low can Tesla go?
Very good question. It could go very low. It could go a lot lower. I will say that if we take a look here, let's draw the trend, the line of support here. I think 899 could be an area that Tesla comes and retests. And we've talked about this. We've talked about Tesla kind of getting a little bit ahead of itself. Obviously, it's a bit of an outlier when you're comparing the fundamentals, because there's a lot of investors and analysts that don't really know quite how to evaluate it, other than apparently Kathy Wood. So I would say that this needs to cool off a little bit and should cool off a little bit. Today it was announced that Motor Trend announced that Rivian was the truck of the year. And I think that a lot of the other EV companies responded as a result of that, and Tesla being a part of that. I think that it could be a brief pullback, but I could easily see this come down to 900. I would be backing the truck up if it did on Tesla. but that's where I could see it potentially coming back to. And he's not done selling yet either. Elon's not done selling all of his shares yet. So there's that as well.
Jeff Panica, Walmart is a great rebound in play.
It already has. Friday was a great day for Walmart, and we started to see this break up over 140. I like this on a trajectory to 152. I think that if we close over that 50-day moving average at 143.68 today, maybe that could be in play.
Don Fran said, I want to buy the dip, but didn't today because I'm red from NVIDIA. I don't like stacking L's, and Amazon's still a knife right this minute.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you, man. It's just the price action is just crazy to me. I just don't understand why this is sold off where the rest of FANG has really done pretty well.
Speaking of FANGs, Dan Dalton asked, should Tesla be included in the FANG conversation now? Here's what's interesting. It's like FANG may be gone. What is it now? Mama?
I know,
that
right?
never stuck.
It didn't.
Was that what it was? Mama?
Fucking Jim.
That's a perfect example of like, just like quit it one. Like you were good with FANG. Don't try to double down on it.
Yeah, I mean, he hit it out of the park with FANG and then tries to come up with Mama. No.
So anyways, those are a couple tickers. Hopefully you guys got some good information on that. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on those stocks. And again, like Brad mentioned, check out our free daily watch list if you guys are interested in the stocks that we send out every morning at onlychaos.com. Link is in the description. Are you ready for Chaos Confessions?
Let's do it.
Why don't you explain what it is?
All right, guys. So it's that time of the week. Every Monday, we talk about our Chaos Confessions, and it could be anything. It could literally be anything. Did you snort some crack off a stripper's booty over the weekend? Let us know. But for me, it's actually stock related. I made a dumbass move. It worked out. Okay. And this is on Ford. You guys heard that I alluded to this. It was about Ford. But I took a stupid amount of money and bought Ford on Thursday.
Yeah.
And it worked out. But I managed the trade. But there's no way in hell I should have taken that kind of money and put it on one stock and one stock only. It was about 37% of the portfolio account size that I put into Ford. And I went against the what I tell everybody else to do and just did my own thing and bought a shit ton of Ford. Now, granted, like I said, it worked out and had a huge move on Friday, so I was able to get out. But if it hadn't, I could have had a huge loss on this thing. Yeah. So that's the other part of it. It's like it's great that I had the win, but honestly, I did not do a very good job at managing risk. I mean, obviously the trade went in the right way, so then I did. But right out the gate, I just went crazy on it because I don't know, got a wild hair up my ass. I really don't have a good explanation as to why I did that.
Yeah, that kind of feels similar to when I did that on Tesla before Tesla made the run. And I vowed that I would never do that again. It's just like not worth it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's great when it works out. And I was really happy it worked out. But it's like, oh man, like if it does it, yeah, that's a lot of ground to make up. Well, it's good. It worked out. Don called
he knew what I was going to be talking about, but yeah. So I went a little crazy on it. They were at least in the money, Don. They were in the money. They were far out. So,
well, this is an interesting question. Don isn't asking it, but it's a question that comes up because I think Don's maybe misinterpreting. Don said, as long as the lesson is learned, you just didn't have to lose money to learn it. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Who said that Brad's not going to do it again? That's my question is, a lot of times when it works out, it could get us in trouble because we need the lesson learned. Do you see yourself doing something like that again?
Well, I guess I didn't quite do it again. I mean, I did. I'm over leveraged in one particular stock, but
what percentage now?
It's probably right around that percent.
He did it again.
But I took those profits and bought the dip. So I don't know like how that works out. But I'm way over leveraged in one particular stock, so I guess that's not quite a lesson learned.
Oh man, that's funny.
Jesus.
That confession isn't done with a smile on your face if it goes on the other way. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, I would be real sad state of affairs.
I don't know if this is a confession or not. But I just want to say this. I told you last year, well, not last year. I told you when I bought Tesla that I was so my lease was up on my car.
Yeah.
And I really wanted a Tesla. And it was probably not like I had the option of like, should I buy a Tesla? Or I had this wild idea to like downgrade my car, just get like a shitter and use all that money to put in Tesla stock. And hopefully Tesla buys me a car in the future.
Yes.
Remember I told you that?
I did.
Unfortunately. And so I started with like, my goal was like the money that I was putting into that I would put into a car. I was going to essentially buy a share of Tesla until I got to like 100 shares or something like that.
Yeah.
And Tesla just moved before that happened. I didn't actually bring it to the channel, which we were going to do, but I'm doing it with Ford.
Ooh.
I'm doing it with Ford. I'm not doing it with Tesla.
It's going to buy you a Ford?
Might buy me a Tesla. But I think I'm going to do it with Ford. So,
bro, I would be sick if you got like a Ford Lightning with it.
I know. Or a Bronco. That's the one I want.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not like a pickup truck guy.
What if they made an EV Bronco? I feel like they should. They haven't announced any of that, but they got to be able to do that.
But yeah, definitely. I still want a Tesla, though. I'm going to be honest. I want a Tesla.
What do you want? You want like a Model 3 or something? Or
I would do a 3, but the more I look at the SUVs, like I mean, honestly, I would do any one, but depending on how it turns out,
like a Y or something.
Yeah. Well, the X.
Yeah. Oh, the big big daddy.
I mean, Ford's got to come through. But in all honesty, I'd probably get the 3. But I don't know.
The 3 seems like it's your speed.
It does. Yeah, it does.
I don't know if I could see you in a big car, period. Like Fat Man Zoom rolling around in a Cybertruck just doesn't seem like it fits.
Cybertruck, that's for
doesn't
sure.
seem like it fits.
That's true. But the Y's like, I don't know. My buddy has a Y. I never have loved the Y, but my buddy has it. And when you're in it, it's actually pretty nice. It looks a little funny to me.
It does. To me, if I'm looking at it head on,
Yeah.
It looks like a big giant vacuum cleaner.
But the X's are pretty sexy, man.
They are. You could just go with the S. Just nice classy Model S.
Yeah, that's true. But so that begs the question is if I'm going to do it with Ford, so what will happen is I will basically just every month just buy Ford stock. What I should do is options. The account I have set up isn't currently set up with options, but I should do it with options, and I should just buy leaps and continue to add to those. And when it's all said and done, hopefully Ford is up and it looks good. But essentially, it's free money in my book.
Yeah.
If I was going to spend it on a car. So part of it's like sacrifice. It sucks to downgrade a car, man.
Yes.
It's like, it's hard.
Especially considering the car that you downgraded to.
I know. And so
it's a beater. It's a pure definition of a beater.
And there's something about embracing the suck. Like, I don't know why I've always been that way. And I've never been much for cars. Like I had a Honda Accord for years and I, it was fine. Like I've never wanted like a really, really nice car just because I live in the city and cars get beat up.
Yeah.
But I think it's time for me to treat myself. And so I was like, I've had, Accords, which are fine. They're nice cars, but they're not like Teslas or whatever.
Right.
But I kind of want to like feel the pain a little bit and like kind of sacrifice for a bit. So then when I do get the car, I'll feel better about getting a nicer car. I think it's just more of a personal thing for me.
It'll mean more too.
I hope so.
It will. I mean, I went and bought my gas guzzling Gladiator and put big fucking tires on it. And I have no guilt, no shame. No shame in that game.
Well, and you should. And you've enjoyed it, so it seems like you're happy with that portion.
Yeah. No buyer's remorse here.
I'm looking to see if I've been to buy a Pinto wagon. I mean, listen, I did exactly. I mean, I told you this way before I was going to do it.
Yeah,
I did. I mean, the car cost $1,400. I paid for it cash. You helped me fix it up a little bit. Like it's a Nissan Versa. It's like, but it's got 200,000 miles. Like it's a beater.
Yeah. So I said definition.
So, if people see me rolling around in that thing, it's like, man, that guy must be struggling.
Wait, what do you mean he's a day trader? Yeah, that's typical day trader cars. Just Nissan Versa.
Yeah, like we're not following him. I should do a video on my Nissan Versa. Following the chaos.
Oh man, Don actually put up here and said you should talk to Nick. He bought a Chevy Aveo. He said that before he mentioned the Versa, and it's just like it's the same thing, man.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is true, but I've quoted this a lot. Like the most common car among millionaires, isn't it a Ford? Is that true? Have you ever heard that?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I've heard like the most common car of all millionaires is a Ford. Which like when people say that, it's the point of like typically really smart people with their money don't buy like Lamborghinis. Like there are those people that are out there, maybe like the ultra rich or the just athletes. But yeah, like self-made. I think it's self-made millionaires. I think that's actually what it is.
Okay.
But anyways, who knows if that's true or not? Nvidia, just touching on this really quick. Oh wait, I think this is a confession.
What we got?
Savvy Money Show. I kept averaging down on a high conviction stock rather than wait for signs of a turnaround. Luckily, it turned around last week, and now I'm riding 32 free shares worth $550 plus a little profit. You don't even tell us what stock that is?
I don't know. He always tells us what he's in. That's the one. Well, you know what? I think he ran out of characters. That's an awfully long comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because this one he says but could have gone. See,
could have gone the other way.
Yeah,
okay, got it.
Yeah. We still didn't tell us what the stock was.
Don wants to all buy threes. I'm down for all buying threes. Savvy says, before my current car, I had a picture of Mary Mother of God because it ran on a prayer.
That's hilarious.
Bits one says, common car of millionaires is a Prius. I don't know. Real quick, totally off topic.
I wouldn't. No.
If somebody said Toyota or Honda, which one would you go with?
Honda.
You would? Why?
I've worked on both of them.
Yeah.
I would say Honda is super reliable. It's just as reliable as a Toyota, but it's cheaper to fix any kind of issues it has, and it's much easier, at least from a mechanic side of things. I loved working on Hondas just because I could tear them apart, put them all back together in one day.
Yeah.
It runs like a top.
They last forever.
They do. I had a Civic once, 5-speed, and it was a dog piece of shit.
Yeah.
Roll up windows, everything. But man, it got me from A to B. It got 40 miles a gallon. I blew a head gasket in it, which is a really big job to do. Like you have to tear the whole top half of that motor off. Did it in a weekend, and it ran forever after that. Like It was just great. And it cost $50 to fix all that. Like it wasn't expensive. So like they're great cars. Like if you have to fix a Toyota, especially these days, it gets expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, I love Hondas.
But Toyota's, their resale value is up there.
So is Honda.
Yeah, but Toyota's is better.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Toyota's resale value is way better.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Jeep's number one. The Wrangler's number one. Number one model vehicle is the Wrangler.
Of what? Resale?
Resale value.
Oh, okay. Sorry guys, we got a little off topic. But it seems you guys are enjoying the car conversation.
Yeah.
Gran, we talked about PayPal. We're bullish on PayPal in general. It's been beaten down.
Yep.
It might be a waiting game on that one. Be patient on that one. Don says Hondas have their own way of building things. Just makes sense. They're a great build.
Yeah. Yeah. Don knows. Don's a car guy.
Yeah. I just want to go back to Ford really quick since we're speaking about cars.
Yeah.
They're doing EVs for the Lightning. Is the F-150 the Lightning, or they're two different ones? Okay.
Yeah.
So the Lightning, the Mach-3
Mach-E,
or Mach-E, and then the Mustang.
That is the Mach-E.
Is that the Mach? See, I don't know shit about cars. Guys, you see my knowledge of cars.
The Mustang Mach brand goes all the way back to the 70s.
Okay.
So when they brought up the Mach brand again for the EV, they call it the Mach-E. It used to be like Mach 2, Mach 3. So now this is
are they doing any other EVs that they've announced? I thought there was one more. No.
There is one more, and is the Maverick, I want to say, maybe is the EV.
Okay.
I think it's like the Ranger, maybe something like that. Let me know in the comments. But I think there's it's a Maverick is the other one.
Would you get any one of those EVs?
I would get the F-150, I think.
Really?
And I gotta be honest, like I've been not really much of a Ford guy. I've always been a GM guy growing up because my grandfather was in GM. Like that's what we grew up with. But I drove in Don's F-150. He got a brand new one, and that thing is nice as shit.
Really?
Yeah. And if it's got a battery behind it, like the torque is ridiculous, supposedly, and the horsepower is awesome. So like I think I would certainly get a Mach-E or a F-150 Lightning for sure.
Okay.
But Stellantis is coming out with, or they already have, the hybrid plug-in Wrangler. So if they slap that in a Gladiator, I'd probably be all about that too. Off-roading capability in F-150 is not as fun.
We're gonna end on this question. Kamal Rai. Is it time to add to MGM and Penn?
Oh man, I dread this question. I have MGM on. This was on the watch list for Stock Watch Sunday. I said this is one to watch for this week, and I said watch for this area around 39.50. If I had the choice right now, today, between MGM and Penn, I'd be adding the MGM. And the big reason is because MGM makes money right now. They have an excellent balance sheet, and it isn't because I don't like Penn. It's just that Penn continues to report negative earnings, and that's going to probably hurt them. It's going to be extra sensitive to rising rates, inflation, and all that good stuff. MGM is poised to actually have a really good it's poised to have really good movement in this environment that we're in right now. I still prefer Penn National longer term, but they're both really good. If I had to buy one today, though, it would be MGM.
Yeah, I mean, if you want less heartache, and headache, probably MGM. It's a little bit less on the anxiety, but I do think that Penn is one of those that like it's gonna have its day in the sun. So we'll see what happens. It's ridiculous. I do hope they decide to move towards profitability sooner than later, because I think that's all it really needs. However, what Penn has said is really like, yes, we can be profitable, but they're looking for these acquisitions and they're looking to spend this capital. So we'll see what happens. We'll certainly keep an eye on it, and we will be here tomorrow and every other day this week, Monday through Thursday, live 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. So guys, come in Monday through Thursdays. We're here live. We're also here Stock Watch Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check us out. Hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, but at the very least, make sure you hit that thumbs up out the door. That's all I got.
That's going to do it for us, guys. Again, go to ownthechaos.com, get your free watch list. It's down in the description. We'd love to have you guys support us, the channel, all that good stuff. And by the way, people have been loving the all blue. I've seen several comments now just seeing the all blue, so we might stick with that for a little while. But thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. That's going to do it for us. Bye.
Bye.